It is 7 o'clock and I am on my computer so I can see what you see because I have my camera reversed and I can't see. So it takes a few minutes. Yes, there's a little bit of a lag, a delay. Oh, there I am. Okay, popping up now. Popping up now. Now I can see myself. Yes, I'm just going to do a little bit of an author's tea tonight. Yes, just relaxing, having a cup of tea. I might read a little bit of my story, talk about my protagonist, Wilson the snail. And I was just looking at some things that I had in my file, for the fairy tales of Soggy Bottom. Excuse me while I pour a cup of tea here. And I have the same tea that I had last week. Yes, green tea with elderberry and vitamin C supports a healthy immune system. Yeah, your immune system. And I have my creativity cup right here. Oh, howdy, Kelsey. Thanks for popping in. Yes, thanks for popping in and saying hi. Yes, I'm just settling in here with a cup of creativity. Yeah, just relaxing. And I was looking over some of the notes in the file that I have from my story. Still working on my story. Maybe I'll get it out for spring. I can't believe it's fall already. Can you? Oh, my stars. Oh, Mary Beth's here. Howdy, howdy. Thank you for popping in. Yes. Oh, and Vicky. Howdy, Vicky. Oh, folks are popping in. Look at that. Yes. Mary Beth and Kelsey and Vicky are here. Thanks so much for popping in. They're saying howdy to each other. Yes, yes, they are. I'm here to listen, says Linda Burton. And Becky's here too. Howdy. Well, thank you, Linda, for listening. Did you want to hear part of the story? Shall I continue with Wilson or should I do something else? Yes, I was working on my protagonist last Tuesday, right? I did a pop-up live. And there are a few folks that missed it. And I wasn't sure I was going to do a live this evening, but around supper time, I said, well, maybe I will. And I gave out a very short notice. I know, but if I just make it a regular thing, then folks will know. Not everybody is interested. No. Not everybody's interested. Oh, Maria's here. Howdy, howdy, Maria. I'm looking to see if I missed anybody. So we have Kelsey and Mary Beth and Vicky and Linda who's listening and Becky and Maria. And Becky's saying howdy to all the possum peeps. Yes, she is. Oh, you know what? When I do a live, I get a really wide screen, don't I? You can see my mess back over there in the corner. Back over there, down there in the corner. Yes, look at that. Wow, that's okay. Don't mind the mess. I'm cleaning. I'm cleaning and organizing. Yes. All right. We're still giving out some howdies here. Yes, we are. Yes. All the craziness in the world. Yes. And I just thought I would light my little fall candle over here. The world needs more light and trolls and dragons, doesn't it? Yes, it does. More magical beings. Yes, more magical beings. So raise your hand if you were here last week. Amen, says Kelsey. Yes, more light and more dragons. Ah, love and light and dragons, and maybe a few trolls. Too much going on. Yes, too much going on in the world. Last week, if you watched last week or you were here last week, and Mary Beth is raising her hand. Yes. I was talking about Wilson, and I read all the beginning of his story as it is so far. I mean, I'm going to do my rewrite. It's so funny when, I'm learning. This is my first book. I'm learning. Thank you, Linda. And Kelsey raising their hands. So you have an idea and you write it, and you got to get it down on paper. And then you go back to it and you got to rewrite it because you got to put in, their personalities and their actions and some descriptions. And maybe you put in too many descriptions and then you got to take those out. And you have to red pencil a lot of things. I red penciled so many things. I wrote some paragraphs that I loved and immediately took them out. They just didn't belong. They didn't move the story forward, right? You got to keep moving the story forward. Anyway, so this will get a little bit of a rewrite, and I'm finding it very helpful just going through parts of the story and talking to you all out there, yes, and reading the comments over here and the comments that are underneath, for the gentle replayers and the listeners out there, yes. So, yeah, this is helping me, and I'll get to the end of the story, and I'm going to work on some illustrations, and then I'm going to go back to it with fresh eyes and just make sure it is, goes smoothly, and I closed all the loops, and I don't have anything in there that I could take out, or is there something I need to put back in, right? So, yes, Wilson, that's where we left off. Going through Wilson's story. Maybe I'll do Bybie the Ladybug story, because I added some things about her in there, because I wanted to develop her personality, because at the end of the story there's something that happens between her and Wilson, and yeah, I wanted to make sure I filled in some bits about her personality before we got to the end. The very last thing that we talked about, we were talking about how Wilson was a loner. He lives by himself. He has conversations out loud with himself because there's nobody there. And he was very prideful and vain. Narcissistic was a word. I forgot, somebody used that word right in chat. And over his shell. Yes, he loved his gorgeous shell. But then he loses his shell, right? And we talked about coming out of his shell. I love that, coming out of his shell, because he lost his shell in the flood. And I said, there's a word for that when the phrase have you made any changes to Wilson since last week? Not in what I read already, Mary Beth, but I'm going to read some more, right? So you can kind of see what happens next, okay? So, yeah, but there's two meanings, figuratively and literally, coming out of his shell. And I said, there's a word for that. So I looked it up, and it was solipsis. I think that's how you say it. Sylepsis. Solipsis. So coming out of his shell, I love that. He has figurative and literal meaning. And that's all we did last week. I'm not going to make this too long this evening. No, I'm just going to read a little bit of a story, get some feedback from you all, yes. And if you're a gentle replayer, you can put your feedback in the comments below. Yes, you can. So we're going to do some more of Wilson's story, I think, because when we left off, he lost his shell in the flood, and he traveled through the night, and he got to the fairy's cottage, and he got as far as the puddle by the garden gate, and he just collapsed. He just collapsed there, right? It was like, now he's all soft and mushy because he doesn't have a shell, so he just collapsed down into the puddle. Darlene, howdy, howdy. Oh, you're quietly watching in the background. Thank you for watching and listening. Yes, no pressure. Gentle listeners are very welcome. And Kelsey's saying howdy to Darlene. Thanks for popping in, Darlene. We're talking about the main protagonist, Wilson. See, when I make my picture smaller over here to read, I can't see the chat. So I'm going to hop over to the story and do a little bit of reading. And let me see if I can just go back here 1 second. Oh, Lala, Ladybug Lala is here. Thank you so much, Lala, for popping in. Yes, there's the Pastel Possum peeps here. And some are just, gentle listeners, and that's fine, yes. But maybe later on you can come back and put a comment. I would really appreciate that. Thank you, Lala. Lala's always so helpful. Give me a thumbs up, she said. Helps the algorithm. Helps the algorithm. Yes, it does. Thank you, Lala. Okay, so I'm going to close this so I won't be able to see the chat for a moment. And we were talking about Wilson over here. Wilson. I want to do one of these about AI, but not today. Today I want to finish what I started last week, I said. Yes. So Wilson is Wilson the snail who lost his shell in the flood in the Little River. That's the name of the river, the Little River. Got snagged up on a branch on the side of the river. He came to, realized his shell was gone, fainted away, came to again, and set off away from the river, made it as far as the fairy's cottage, sort of collapsed in a mud puddle out by the garden gate. And that brings you right back to the end of the first chapter where the fairies, was that the first chapter where the fairies tripped over him? Storm. Yes. So the first chapter is Storm. And at the end of Storm, I know I didn't read the whole chapter. I'm just focusing on Wilson right now. I'll go back and do the fairies and Bybee on another time. So that was the first chapter. And oh wait, yeah, no. Sorry. Okay. It was the end of the second chapter. At the end of the first chapter, Angela Rose gets the feeling that she hears a cry. And she gets the feeling that somebody needs her help. But she looks out the window and she doesn't see anything. So that was Angela Rose in chapter 1. In chapter 2, now the storm has passed and they're outside, and Maggie Rose heads toward the garden, and that's where she trips over something in the mud puddle and says, I need to pay more attention to where she's walking. So at the end of the first chapter, there's a cry for help. At the end of the second chapter, Maggie Rose trips over something in the mud puddle. So we have the cry for help and we have the mud puddle. So cry for help, chapter 1. Chapter 2, she trips over something in the mud puddle. So that's the first 2 chapters. So then, third chapter is Wilson's story. And this is what I read last week. Wilson's story. And it starts off at the early in the morning and then goes to the fairy mushroom ring and all that stuff. And then the flood comes, he gets washed away. I read all this. If you want to hear this again, go back to Author's Tea from last week. Thank you. And yes, so he's washed away in the flood, and then Wilson's journey ended in the middle of a mud puddle, but such things no longer mattered. He dropped to the wet ground, curled up, and closed his eyes. The chapter before that was the cry of desolation, right? Okay. So now we're in a new chapter. So that's the first 3 chapters right there. I mean, I didn't read all of them to you, like I said, because we're focusing on the protagonist, Wilson the snail, right now. So in this chapter, did somebody pop in? Let me just jump back and say howdy, howdy. Howdy, howdy. No, I think we're good. Oh, yes. Oh, a few people did. Let me back up. Lala saying howdy to Kelsey. Oh, Penny's Crafty Creations. Howdy, Penny. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, we're talking about I'm being an author and this is my creativity. I'm writing a book, yes. Oh, Marcy's here. Howdy, howdy, Marcy. Howdy. I'm invested now. I need to know the next part. Lala's going to be right back. Okay. Oh, Christina. Howdy, Christina. Down in Australia, we're going in the fall. She's having spring. Yes, Christina. Thanks for coming in, Christina. Now, what is it there? Is it morning? I forget the time change. I know when I do the noon, you're sort of in the middle of the night. Yes, she's in the middle of the night, but sometimes she wakes up in the rainstorm. Thanks for coming in, Christina. Okay, I'm reading my story here. Well, I'm reading Wilson's story. I'm reading Wilson's story. Okay. So if you just popped in, I'm sorry. I hope you heard the synopsis, or like I said, you can go back to the last Tuesday's author's tea, and hear the beginning of that. Okay. So this chapter is called Found. And I decided not to read, the version before. I kind of focused on that last week, on Wilson being the protagonist and doing a rewrite. I think that was a lot for one video. So I'm not going to talk about the rewrite this week. I'm just going to read the story. And we're just going to focus on Wilson. Yeah, sometimes I get too many things going around in my head. Yeah. And I'm going to try to keep this at about an hour, okay? Where? Wilson whispered. He looked up at the three faces hovering over him. Who? He breathed as his eyes closed again. What is it? Wondered Maggie Rose, looking down. Oh, it's her, cried Angela Rose, clasping her hands together. Let's get it inside, Ruthie Rose said, with quiet command, scooping Wilson gently into her arms. So you see the personality of the three fairies there, right? Inside, there's like a space there to show a little bit of a jump. Inside the cozy kitchen, Bybie watched from her bed as the room came alive with activity. Maggie Rose stoked the fire with a few oak twigs. She filled the kettle with fresh water and put it on the stove to boil. Ruthie Rose pulled out a mortar and pestle from her apron pocket and set them on the table. From another, 2 round jars of herbs appeared. After dumping their contents into the mortar, she used the pestle to crush the dried mullein leaves and calendula flowers. Their healing scent filled the air as Ruthie Rose prepared a poultice. Angela Rose gingerly sponged the caked mud from the strange creature's body as it lay in a small tub. Mindful of its wounds, she lifted it onto her lap and patted it dry with a soft towel. A growing look of concern crossed her face as she noted the location of each cut and bruise. Shh! Bybie heard the kettle sing, steam rising from its spout. Using a pot holder, Maggie Rose lifted it from the stove and poured boiling water over the herbs. Ruthie Rose reached in. Oh, am I buffering? I'm buffering. Am I done buffering? Am I back? I was getting a spinning circle on my side. So I have to wait and see if everybody's still here. Somebody pop in a howdy for me, please. Am I still here? I saw no buffering. Okay. All right. Mine froze and I saw buffering. Good. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lala. No buffer. And Wilson without his shell. All good. All right. Great. Mine just froze for a second. Ruthie Rose reached into another pocket and set 2 more jars down on the table. These were oddly shaped and smaller than the first 2. From the golden 6-sided jar, she shook tiny balls of beeswax into the mortar. She picked up the red heart-shaped jar and pulled out the cork. The gold dust inside began to swirl. Round and round it went, rising toward the open top. Puff! A tiny amount floated free, while the rest settled to the bottom of the jar. Ruthie Rose quickly popped the cork back in place. Amazed, Bybie watched as the glittering cloud hovered over the mortar. Whoosh! It fell apart, showering the mixture below. Ruthie Rose patiently worked until a paste was formed. With a wooden spoon, she scraped the sticky mass into a clean jar. It was ready. Angela Rose held the creature. Maggie Rose held the jar. Ruthie Rose generously applied the magical golden mixture to its wounds. What can I do? Babe, this is Bybie thinking. She's a little ladybug. Bybie's thinking. It's in italics. What can I do? Bybie climbed out of her bed and scurried to the center of the kitchen floor. She paused there, thoughtfully twitching her antenna. Maggie Rose turned to watch the little bug. With one antenna, Bybie motioned toward her bed. With the other, she jabbed the air in Wilson's direction. Maggie Rose smiled. Bybie is offering the use of her bed to our new patient. She lifted Wilson from Angela Rose's arms and carried him over to the little bug's bed. This poor creature must be far from home, Ruthie Rose said. This creature must be far from home, Ruthie Rose said, a furrow forming on her brow as her eyes squinted. I think it's a slug, but I've never seen one quite like it before. Slug? Slug! Wilson's eyes sprang open. He pointed his chin upward and with dignity proclaimed, I'm a snail. Puzzled, the sisters looked at each other and then back at Wilson. A snail? They asked in unison. Between falling tears, wet sniffles, and hiccups that shook his whole body, Wilson related the tale of buttery mushroom caps, a sudden flood, and the heartbreaking loss of his shell. And that's the end of that chapter, so I'm going to come over here. We can have a little bit of a chat. Okay. Thank you. Everybody said it's good there. So that was, what did I say that was? Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Found. Okay. So Wilson's been found, and the fairy sisters thinks he's a slug, at which point he comes to, and we're going back to, where's my notes? We're going back to how vain he is and prideful, and he's not a slug. Oh, thank you, Lala. It's just the blouse. Thanks for popping that in. It's just the blouse. I actually got my blue jeans on. They're stretchy, though. Stretchy jeans. Very comfortable. Have a little bit of my green tea with wild elderberry. Vitamin C. It's very good. So that's Wilson's story. And the fairies found him. And, okay. Can I get some feedback here? I know at the beginning of the chapter, there's a lot about the herbs and Ruthie Rose mixing it with her mortar and pestle. And do you think that's too much? I mean, I'm trying to build up their personalities through the series of books. And Ruthie Rose is the practical one, as you can tell, and she has the magical apron with the many pockets, and she can pull things out of those pockets like you don't believe, right? It's just whatever is needed at that time sort of comes out of her, oh, thank you, Kelsey, comes out of her apron pockets. And that's going to be important throughout the whole series of books. And we're learning that Angela Rose, because she's the one who heard the cry, and she's the one who got up in the middle of the night because she was worried that somebody needed her help. Yes, that's her personality. And Maggie Rose, I wish I had an apron like that, says Christine. Whatever she needs comes out of those magical pockets. Yes. Thank you, Darlene. She said like it. And Maggie Rose, she cares for everybody too, but she does it mostly in the kitchen, yes. But she also, yes, Maggie Rose is good in the kitchen, right? Angela Rose cares for everybody. Ruthie Rose is practical. 3 fairy sisters. So that's how they take care of Wilson in the beginning. And that went pretty good because I wasn't reading the old thing. No, you don't need to hear any more of the old one. I think we had enough of that last week. Now, because it's only been about a half an hour. maybe if I close the chat, then we can continue a little bit with Wilson. So I'll go on to the next chapter. I'll try to keep an eye. I got everything up here half and half. I can't see the chat, but I can see my picture. So I'll stop if I see some buffering again, okay? So I'll just go on a little bit more and we can chat a little bit more and then, yeah. And then I'm just looking to see what's in the next chapter. I know it was too long of a break, yes, but you know, health gets in the way sometimes. We can't help it, right? Okay. All right, it looks like the next chapter is about Wilson and then there's a bit about Bybee, but I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip the Bybee part. And we'll just stick with Wilson for right now. I can do Bybee next week or something, right? Okay. This chapter is called Healing, okay? Just one more, coax Ruthie. Excuse me. I take a sip. Maggie Rose, okay? Remember, she's the one who cooks in the kitchen for everybody. It's a little bit of a magical way with cooking too, and food, yeah, and we'll see that later in the story. Just one more, coaxed Maggie Rose as she held up a spoonful of a special warm mushroom broth. Wilson reluctantly opened his mouth and she popped the soup in. Good, Maggie Rose set the spoon down. Now you can go back to your nap. Since arriving at the fairy's cottage, Wilson had slept through the nights and napped through the days. Not just yet, asserted Angela Rose. I need to check those wounds first. Wilson was not used to all the fuss, but he was grateful for the sister's help. He reluctantly submitted to her exam. Your cuts are healing nicely, Angela Rose said, with a practiced eye. And the bruises are fading. She picked up the jar of salve and peeked inside. It's almost empty, but I don't think we'll need any more of this after today. Wilson flinched as Angela Rose dabbed the last of it. On his wounds, but as before, a soothing warmth spread from the golden salve. So then there's another little break there. Wilson's wounds were on the mend, but his mental state was still very fragile. Tears welled up in his eyes at the very thought of his lost shell, prompting Ruthie Rose to search for a solution to his problem. If we can't find the lost shell, Ruthie Rose mused, tapping her chin, I wonder if I can make something to replace it. Little break there. Ruthie Rose started by fashioning a cover for his mantle. Now, the mantle of the snail is the part that would be in the shell, right? So now that part of the body is exposed. The shell's not there, okay? Ruthie Rose started by fashioning a covering for his mantle out of her old bed quilt. Let's try this on, okay? She cheerfully approached Wilson with the wrap. Now Wilson's thinking this, it's in italics. Oh my, pink embroidered roses, heart-shaped buttons. Wilson did not voice his doubts aloud. His tentacles stiffened as his eyes glared skeptically at what the fairy was holding up. Don't worry, Ruthie Rose chuckled. It's only temporary. She wrapped the handmade cover around Wilson where his shell used to be and buttoned it up. There, she said, placing her hands on her hips. How does that feel? Nice, Wilson admitted. It was not his magnificent hard shell, but it felt soft and comforting. For now, it was enough. During the days that followed, most of the activity in the fairy's home centered around helping their two new friends heal. Ruthie Rose worked on solving the problem of the missing snail shell. She wove dried grasses together in a spiral. Too scratchy, Wilson complained. She found a pretty gray and white granite stone and hollowed it out. Ugh, too heavy, moaned Wilson, sagging beneath its weight. She gathered up empty hickory nut shells left behind by the squirrels. She pieced them together with pine sap. Too sticky, whined Wilson. Ruthie Rose was running out of ideas. And then there's a whole section about Bybie. So the next chapter is a lot about what the fairies are planning. And I can skip that part. Let me go back to chat for just a moment. Okay. Oh, Deidre popped in. Howdy, Deidre. Thanks for popping in. Yes, the Pastel Possum peeps are here. Deidre is a very long time possum peep. Yes, she is. Oh, so nice to be here with you, Deidre. Yes. And all the new possum peeps, too. Yes. And all the medium time possum peeps. Lots of possum peeps. Deidre, I'm just reading my story. We're talking about Wilson. Wilson's my protagonist, the snail who lost his shell. So Ruthie Rose, the practical one, she's trying out all these different things. And, oh, thank you. Thank you, Deidre. And Wilson is so vain. He's so fussy. He misses his shell. Yes, he just misses his shell. And Ruthie Rose trying to put a substitute on him for right now, right? But they're really busy because they're planning what are they planning? They're planning the celebration. They're planning a celebration. And that's what the next chapter starts off with. It's called Plans, right? It's called Plans. And, I should read the beginning of that. I don't want to read all the stuff the fairies do, though. Because, yeah. The summer solstice celebration is coming up. So, the story starts like around the spring, vernal equinox. And then it's going to end at the first day of summer. So it starts around the first day of spring in March, when things are just popping up here in Soggy Bottom. And it's going to continue to the first day of summer. And then the next book will be the summer, and that'll go on until the autumnal equinox. And then the next book will be the autumnal equinox to the first day of winter solstice. And then the next book will be from the winter solstice to the first day of spring. And the fairies are hosting the summer solstice celebration, so they're making all the plans for that. So a lot of this chapter is all what's going on. But I think it's important at the beginning of this chapter, so you kind of see what's going on between Bybie and Wilson, because as we talked about before, Wilson was a loner. He really didn't have any friends. And he just talked out loud to nobody. And now that there's people around, he's not talking very much. No, he talked more when there was nobody there instead of like when people aren't around. So this chapter called Plans, because they're planning the summer solstice here. So Bybie the ladybug. Okay, Bybie snuggled up against Wilson as they sat together on the garden bench. The homeless snail and the beetle who couldn't fly spent long hours together, quietly sitting in the warm sun and breathing in the fresh air. Before the storm, Wilson had been quite talkative ever since telling the fairy sisters of his unfortunate adventure. He had grown unusually quiet. Bybie never said a word. She communicated only with the movements of her antenna. So on this day, the two unlikely friends sat in a comfortable silence, watching the fairy sisters at work in the garden. So you can see a little bit of a change, yes, because the protagonist is the one who's on a journey. The protagonist is the one who's on a journey. So what was he like before? What obstacles does he have to overcome? The loss of his shell. What changes are going to happen? How is he going to emerge a new person, maybe a better person in some ways, right? In some ways. So he's already appreciative of the fairies, and he's making friends with the ladybug, yes. So a whole bunch of stuff goes on in the garden because it's spring, and Ruthie Rose and in Soggy Bottom, the passage of time was marked with seasons, phases of the moon, and the movement of stars, and a floral calendar. When the swamp roses flowered, the fairies knew it was time to prepare for the summer solstice celebration. There was much to be done. And it goes on and on. I'll come back and read that. Wilson watched Ruthie Rose's strong hands weave wild grapevines into long ropes and small round wreaths. I'll add the ribbons and flowers the day before the celebration, Ruthie Rose said, answering Wilson's quiet, quizzical look. We'll hang the garlands from the tree branches. I think white paper lanterns would be lovely too. The fireflies will help out with that. She worked while she talked. Each guest will receive a floral crown when they arrive. Her eyes sparkled. Oh, I do hope oodles of folks come. Ruthie Rose paused to assess the growing stack of wreaths. I better make more. The busy fairy did not see Wilson glide off to the corner of the kitchen. Is Wilson sulking? What's going on in Wilson's mind? He's not saying much. Something's going on in his head. Okay, Bybie and Maggie Rose have a whole thing going on here. At dinner time, not Bybie. Yes. Yeah. Yep. At dinner time, Bybie sat in Angela Rose's lap, listening to the sisters' lively conversation. Though tired from a hard day's work, the thought of upcoming festivities filled the room with renewed energy. I've decided to wear my green gown, began Angela Rose, the frilly one that matches my eyes. She smiled, dramatically blinking 3 times. I believe my long yellow gown might be right, Maggie Rose declared. It contrasts so well with my wings. Laughing, she fluttered them for emphasis, and their soft blue glow filled the kitchen. That one needs some mending, Angela Rose reminded her. I'll help you with that. The purple or the pink, Ruthie Rose mused aloud. Which would look better under my apron? In unison, the 2 sisters cried, You will not be wearing your apron over your gown. Ruthie Rose held up her hands in mock surrender. Okay, the purple one, I'll wear the purple gown. She quickly shifted the subject. Do you think the elves will come this year? Last year, a dozen of the mysterious immortals had appeared, adding their elegant magic to the celebration. Oh, I do hope so, Angela Rose sighed. It would be so nice to get to know them better. What if the trolls come barging in? Maggie Rose quietly whispered, her round eyes darting from the door to the window. Ruthie Rose let out a short, sharp breath, but said nothing. Angela Rose bravely moved on. How many mooncakes do you think we'll need? Back to Wilson. Wilson sat sulking in the corner, his tentacles sagging, his eyes half closed. Had he grown too accustomed to the very special attention? Did he now feel ignored? No, that wasn't it. He had always lived alone. He had never been lonely. Something weighed heavily on his heart. Unnoticed, He glided towards the well-oiled door. The door got oiled in the chapter, 2 chapters ago. It opened without a sound. He slipped outside and quietly closed it behind him. Wilson moved towards the clothesline, then paused for a moment. Oh, the fairies hung their gowns outside to air out. The fairies' gowns flapped like enchanted banners as the early evening wind picked up. He only looked back at the little cottage once. Then, as noiseless as the fog, he disappeared into the tall ferns. And you will not know what happens to Wilson. I decided I would read that much. I would read how he was before he got the shell, how he lost the shell, how the fairies found him, how they're trying to help him out, and then how he was just so down in the dumps, and he glides away and through the ferns to disappear into the forest of Soggy Bottom. And when you read the book, you will find out what happens to him. And I was cracking myself up when I was writing the chapter about what happens to him. Oh, so I already gave it away. I already gave it away. It's not tragic. No, it's not tragic. I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. No, I couldn't stop laughing. I was just cracking myself up. So, well, okay. I mean, it's so sad. He's just so dejected and so down in the dumps, and he glides off, and things happen to him. Yes, okay, but way at the end of the story, just so you know, it doesn't add on it up. Oh, thank you, Deidre. She said she'll buy the book. I can't wait. Oh, let me go back. Oh, Christina gave me thumbs up. Mary Beth said, oh, Wilson. And Lala said, oh, so sad. And Mary Beth goes, oh, and Deidre's going to buy the book. I need my signed copy of the book now. Said Lala. I got half a chapter to finish writing. I mean, I have, all the ideas are there. I just have to go back and, finish it up. So, yeah. If you hang out at Author's Tea, you will learn more and more and more. So, no problem there. But certain things I'm not going to give away. No, certain things I'm not going to give away. And Wilson's adventure, his next adventure, right? He's on this journey. It's a personal inward journey, and it's definitely a personal outward journey, right? Because he's looking for his shell. Did he go off to find his shell? Did he go off because nobody's paying attention to him because everybody's so busy with the celebration? Did he just go out to sulk? To sulk? Oh, so many things could happen. Oh, thank you, Deidre. I don't know about writing books. This is the first one I ever wrote, but it'll get there. They'll get there, yes. Yeah, so hang out with me or come back if you're a gentle replayer. Thanks for popping in. Yes. Patty's a great author and an excellent storyteller. Oh, thank you, Lala. Thank you. Yes, I need a little conversation. I don't know how writers do it. No, they just go off and lock themselves in a room and write a book. But maybe because this is my first one and I'm just learning, really, while I do this, that it helps me to get your feedback, and just hearing the story out loud really helps too. And I think that's something important. Lala was going to write a book. She was. I bet you Deidre could write a book. Oh, Deidre, she does daily journaling. She's written so much already, yes. Deidre, you should take your journals and turn that into a book, right? Oh, somebody said I should turn pages of one of my journals into a book. Deidre's laughing, LOL. Yeah. yeah, so this is very, very helpful to me, and I'm happy you guys popped in so that uh, I could just read it aloud and have a little bit of an audience, because you know, there's the Wilsons who can write their book by themselves. And then there's the Bybee bugs that need some feedback, the Bybee ladybugs who need some feedback, yes. Oh, I'm going to give one more little tidbit. I don't think I wrote that down in my notes. But I'm trying to write down what I learn about writing a story. I watch actual authors who've written books. They have their YouTube videos too. And there's a few of them are really good that give you hints about writing and rewriting and editing and protagonists and all that stuff. Excuse me. And anybody here remember Christina with the CH? Christina with the CH, who was here last week. She's an author. She's written, oh, I don't remember how many books, 6 books, 7 books, I don't know. She's written a bunch of books, and she's writing a book, I think, about something in a worm. Was it a snail and a worm? She's not here tonight. I sent her a message. I was going to do this. Maybe she'll put a comment in the you know, after it goes back up. So I invited her. Christine, if you're watching this and haven't read your email yet, I'm inviting you, yes, as an author, to join me. You know, we could do like a live together, and you could talk about, you know, the inspiration for your books. Yes. Wouldn't that be fun? So she can talk what inspired her to write her books, and I can talk about all the things that inspired me to write this book. But I'll definitely do more of the story. I'll come back and read more of the story. And yes, Deidre said that'd be really fun and cool. I think it would, to have a published author, and maybe I can bounce some things off of her, and you can ask her things too, right? Patty and Pastel Peeps, I'm going to slip away. I'm still battling this stomach bug and very tired. Thanks for popping in, Lala. We're all going to say goodbye in about 5 minutes, so no problem, no problem. I know it's at night. You take care. Healing bubbles for you, Lala. It takes a while to heal up. Yes, it does. Yes. Deidre saying prayers, Lala. And everybody's saying good night. Good night, Lala. Take it easy. Yes. I'm still recovering. I'm still recovering from my blood count of 5. 6 months. Doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'll let y'all know how it goes. Oh, I was talking to Baby Possum last night, and I was like, I just wish, even if I just went back to how I was feeling last fall, wouldn't that be wonderful? Or at least some of the energy that I had last fall. Oh, thank you, Christina. She's telling Lala to feel better. A lot of the names, all right, here's the secret. Okay, this is the big secret I'm letting out, and I said I would do this at some point. So I'm going to write it down. The secret of the names. Secret of the names. And you guys will be the first and only ones to know this, because you're here, and all the gentle replayers too. The secret of the names in the story, okay? The fairies. Well, you know the fairies are based on the fairies that I have, and they're all over here in the little chairs, but I can bring them up. And this is Ruthie Rose, and this is Angela Rose, and they're in their chairs, so I don't know if I'll have enough room here. And this is Maggie Rose, still hanging on to her Snoopy book. So Maggie Rose, we'll start with the first one. The first one was Angela Rose, okay. She was the first one that came to Soggy Bottom, right? Angela Rose. And she is named, they came from the UK, Julia made these, yes. and they flew across the pond from the UK. And this is Angela Rose, and she's named after my grandmother. That's my grandmother's name, Angela Rose. So this fairy is named after my grandmother, Angela Rose, and the Angela Rose character in the story is sort of based on this Angela Rose, at least the name anyway. Yeah, kind of based on that character, right? And then the next one that came was Maggie Rose. And this reminded me of my mom who passed. My mom was like 96. She had this wild white hair that stuck up in all different directions. And her name was Margaret, but my father called her Maggie. Now I kept the name Rose because of my grandmother. So she is Maggie Rose. My mother's name wasn't Maggie Rose, it was Margaret Cherry. But she's named after my mom, and the wild white hair reminds me of my mom. And this one, so this, Angela Rose is my mother's mother, okay? So my father's mother is Ruth. So this is Ruthie Rose. This is Ruthie Rose. So she's named after my other grandmother, whose name was not Ruthie Rose, but it was Ruthie, okay? It was really Ruth, R-U-T-H-E. It's Ruth with an E. She didn't say Ruthie, she just said Ruth. So it's Ruth with an E, but I call her Ruthie, Ruthie Rose. So the three fairies are actually named after my mom and my mom's mom and my father's mother. And more people in this story are named after family. Yeah, I am. Oh, howdy. Terry's here. Howdy. Oh, we're just saying goodbye. Oh, welcome, welcome in. Oh, I'm going to go back. Terry's here. Hi, Patty. Love your channel. First time on one of your lives. I stopped into Janet Nash's live for the first time yesterday. They are fun. Lala, feel better soon. Yes. Oh, we love our start our week with Janet Nash. Yes, we do. So Terry's here, and we were just going to say goodbye. Oh, yes, very special names in my book. And my author's tea, I talk about the book that I'm writing, and I did some reading from the story. So Terry, if you missed it, please go back and watch when the replay comes back up. And I'm giving everybody a very special secret. I know I announced this like a long time ago, but so Wilson, who's Wilson named after? Well, Wilson is my father's family, right? So there's Wilsons in the family as a last name. On my father's side, on that branch of the tree, there's folks with the last name of Wilson. And I said, oh, that's such a great name. I'll call the snail Wilson. And then on my father's mother's side, Bybees, right? B-Y-B-E-E, Bybee. And I was thinking, Ladybug, Bybee. I said, oh, Ladybug. She's a ladybug. Bybee would be a great name for the ladybug. So the ladybug's named after that branch of the family. So I think that's everybody so far. All the characters that you've met so far. Yeah, all the characters that you've met so far, they're all family names. Okay, first family names, last names in the family. So, yeah, very neat connections with the names. Yes, so there's more characters coming up, and oh, Pixie's in it too. Give you a little preview. Pixie's in it too. Pixie, my little pixie fairy. She was my first fairy. Yeah, she's been around forever. Oh, she's in it too, but her name's not a family name because her name is Pixie, but she was already named, so Pixie's in it too. But then there's some more characters in it that have family names too. Oh, yes, stop by again. Oh yeah, and come by and watch the replay because I want to hear you I want you to hear this story. And if you look for last week's Tea Tuesday, I read the beginning of Wilson the snail, how his story starts, and today I continued it on. So you have to kind of watch both of them. And last week I did, I know I did my whole rewrite thing, so it might be harder to follow because I did the old version, I did the new version, I did the old version, I did the new version, because I was just talking about how I rewrote everything. But this week I just read the newer version. I'm not going to say it's the last version, but it's the newer version. But to me, it's sort of flowing. It's sort of flowing. Terry says, no worries. I'll definitely stop by again. Love all the characters at Soggy Bottom. Enchanting. Oh, thank you, Terry. So maybe I'll try this again next Tuesday. I'll try to get a notice out earlier. I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but I think it's a good idea. Yeah. We get a nice little group here, and it helps me a lot. It helps me a lot. So I really appreciate you being here. Yes. Out of the, I said this the other day, out of the 500 hours of YouTube videos that are uploaded every minute and the 10 million videos that are uploaded to YouTube every day, or is it 20 million? 20 million yeah, 20 million videos uploaded every day, I think I said. I had that written down. Yeah, you chose to stop by Soggy Bottom and hear more about my characters. Very much appreciated. Yeah. So, thanks for coming in. Oh, wait. Make sure I get everybody here before I say goodbye. Becky says, oh, Patty, thank you so much for sharing the info about how you named the fairies. Love that. Well, you're welcome. Christina says, very special names. Deidre says, yes, very special names in your books. I think I got everybody now. And Terry popped in, and Lala went off to rest. So I think I got everybody. And now I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Or do we know what Christina's time is? I don't know if she ever answered that. Yeah, we were wondering what time it was in Australia. So, okay. She's probably starting her day while we're going to bed, right? So we're all going to say goodnight. Thanks so much for popping in. I appreciate the time that you spent here. I can see on the clock it's been 50 minutes, so I was planning about an hour, so that's good, yes. So if you would like to hear more of the story, I'm not going to say more about Wilson. Oh, yes, Christina says it's 10 a.m. now, so I figured you're starting your day, because if we're getting ready to go to bed, you're starting your day. Thanks so much. Oh, somebody's sending me a lot of hearts. Thank you so much. Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Christina and Kelsey and Terry and Mary Beth and Deidre and Becky. Did I leave anybody out? Hope not. Forgive me if I do. I scrolled back a little bit to see. Yeah. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. My mom said that all the time. That's something my mom said all the time. My mom. Where's my mom? Where she is. There she is. All the time. Terry says, bye, everyone. Sending light and love. Happy crafting, Terry. Christina says, bye. Christina, have a great day. I'm wishing everybody else good night. But Christina, have a great, wonderful, creative day. Can't wait to see what you make today. Can't wait to make, well, I'll see it tomorrow. Mary Beth, my mother used to say that all the time. Becky's mom said it. My mother said it. Yes, Mary Beth. Very familiar saying too. Yes. I don't know if mothers still say that or not. Yes, and we had to have a kiss from our mom every night, and then she would say that. Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite, and she'd give you a kiss. Yippers. Okay, everybody. So, thank you so much for popping in. I really appreciate it. Say good night to everybody, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. I gotta get up and walk around. Turn the camera off when it's facing in this direction. Oh, and there's my bird clock telling me it's time to get ready for bed. Oh, Mary Beth said her mother said it too. Thanks, Mary Beth. Good night, all. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Bye-bye. I'm walking over to the camera now. Yes, I am. And I'm going to hit the button. Whoops, a little bit of a shaking. Maybe shows our age, says Mary Beth. Yes, it does. Good night.